All right, welcome back to another Bebonos podcast. This is your host, Brian Bullock, and with me I have three people from the wonderful state of Ohio. We have Rolub, or Rob, you might know him as. We have Tribe Browns, Nate, and then we also have Blackburn Review. Blackburn, Nate, Rob, thanks for joining.
A pleasure.
Happy to be here.
I've had Rob on the podcast before, so most people who've listened to this know that I normally have like an introduction part of the podcast where, you introduce yourself from a betting perspective, memorable betting moments, things you like to bet on, things like that. And I really don't honestly know the betting backgrounds of you guys, Nate and Blackburn, but Rob.
It ain't good.
I mean, if we're being honest, most people aren't. But Rob, I know you introduced yourself like about 4 years ago, but for people who might not be familiar, you could give like a short synopsis of of who you are as a bettor and all that.
Yeah, this will be a quick one. So it actually started at the University of Dayton junior year. My buddy had an account with sportsbook.com at the time, now known as .ag, I think. And so I signed up there, messed around with college football, pro football, college basketball. And then the big moment came a year later when a buddy and I would just pick NFL games, the ones that we liked the best, and we'd pick the 8 every week that we liked the best, maybe that overlapped between us. We'd put a $10 parlay on it, and I think it was like week 7, we hit one, which paid $1,000 each on each of our $5. So again, when you're a poor college kid, $1,000 is kind of nice, especially your senior year. So we went and wasted about half of it on all the good things, but so that got me going. Then eventually I graduated away from sportsbook.com and into more reputable books like, Tony on the Street or, Bookmaker, Pinnacle before they shut down to the U.S. And right now I mess around with Bookmaker and a local, well, not local actually, but a group of guys who kind of do a matchbook service between each other. But you would, obviously, when someone has to pick up your bet, it's not exactly liquid. So that's more for fun and just I like when people put futures on it, and I'll just pick it up for the hell of it, thinking, well, you want like your 25 to 1 odds, but I'll book that for them. So, but that's about where I sit today.
Okay, all right, I'll go to you next, Nate, aka Tribe Browns on Twitter.
Yeah, so I dabbled a little bit in college, but
with homosexuality.
A little experimental spot there.
I'll be the first of many tonight, I'm here.
But when I was in grad school, getting my MBA, it was like kind of right after undergrad. And after I kind of finished grad school, I did part-time. And so it was basically work, night school. And then I got out of night school and get my MBA. And I learned all this financial modeling. And I was like, what am I going to do with all this time in the evenings now? I was like, I know. I'm going to sign up for Ken Pom and model a bunch of college basketball. So I just would spend all my time, modeling, different types of outcomes around Ken Pom data. And it was fairly successful for a little while. And then I was like, I can definitely do this with baseball and football and college football and over. And you won't believe this, but I am not a professional bettor. So clearly at some point it kind of tapered off for me. And then I kind of really started to believe in the market, the efficient market hypothesis, and kind of started to transfer over to getting into pretty much any kind of pool I could get into, and just realizing how soft pools are. So mostly now I'm trying to get into survivor pools, other pick'em pools, things like that, which is I've actually been fairly successful in.
Okay.
And almost the world's greatest pool is actually run by Rob, the greatest, dumbest fantasy football survivor pool in the history of the world. So that's kind of where my betting path is led, but still, we'll dabble from time to time with stuff. And this year would have been my 9th out of 11 years going to Vegas for the start of the tournament. That kind of derailed.
Yeah.
Is that good, Nate? Is that like fun?
I mean, I like it. It's just, it kind of depends what you're into. If you want to sit and watch basketball from 9A to 9P, you know, we have a good time. But
you get your bets in.
Say what?
Do you get all the bets in? You got to do like the night before?
Oh, definitely the night before. You got to get there Wednesday night. It's definitely like, we kind of got it down to a regimented science. You can't really kind of roll the dice and just see what happens. So we got a place we post up on Thursdays. Friday's kind of a wing it day. We usually play golf Wednesday and then take off sometime Saturday night.
Nice. Yeah, that was always on my bucket list, but then I realized like I don't really feel like dealing with that much people. So, and plus they jack up prices and everything, and I'm just like, I like my Vegas like dirt cheap, you know, but I don't really know if there's a Vegas dirt cheap anymore.
Not during March Madness, and it's you got to have a plan. If you're trying to wing it, it does end up being, it would be miserable.
Yeah.
We've done that once or twice, and now we kind of got to set way we run with it.
Okay. And finally, Blackburn, feel free to introduce yourself.
My legal name is Tom Blackburn, Jr. My dad was a coach at the University of Dayton way back when. And yeah, you know, I got started with gambling kind of how Rob did. There was a site, which I'm sure has been shut down by now, by the Costa Rican authorities. It was called Intertops. And I remember like going in there and just constantly putting, you know, $300 in, losing it, $300 in, losing it, $400 in, losing it. I think I maxed out a credit card as well. Senior year of college. Shout out to mom and dad for paying that one off. And then, yeah, you know, I'm probably just like you guys. I kind of messed around with all the online books before they got shut down. I mean, I probably had an account with all of them at some point. But now, I mean, the future is here, right? It's like Jersey, you could do whatever the hell you want. I could take the PAT train over to Hoboken and place a bet over there. But yeah, for me, I live in New York City, so I'm just waiting. I'm counting down the days before they legalize it here. Until that point, I'm kind of just holding my money, and because it's going to end up costing me my marriage. So the slower, the better.
All right. Well,
but yeah, I am a degenerate just like you guys.
All right. Well, glad to have you guys on. So speaking of heartbreaks, one of the reasons why I put this together was for you guys to, you know, cry your eyes out.
Oh boy.
And I know you guys all have Dayton connections, whether directly. I think Blackburn, your blog, your site writes about Dayton, right?
Yeah, blackburnreview.com.
Yeah. So you guys indirectly, directly, probably mainly directly have a connection to Dayton, and I saw all of your reactions once, probably about this time 2 weeks ago when you know, Rudy Gobert was discovered to have the virus, and then from there it just snowballed into conference tournaments getting canceled and all that. And when the writing became clear that you know that there's going to be no tournament, how well, where were you? I guess it's kind of one of those things like 9/11. Where were you when you found out the news about the tournament being canceled? Any one of you guys could go.
Well, for me, I think I was well, you're right. As soon as the Gobert thing went down, I remember thinking this might be the catalyst to kind of shut it all down. Because up until that point, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, the tournaments were going full steam ahead with nobody in the crowd. And I think the A10 actually played Wednesday night. And on Thursday, I think I was at work. And they might have played a game. I forget. But I think it was Thursday afternoon. It became clear that they were shutting at least the A10 down. Yeah, so I it's embarrassing to say this, but I actually left work early. Like 2 o'clock, I was like, I gotta go home. I gotta go home. And I literally left work at like 2 o'clock.
If I recall, I don't think the A10 started any games. I know the Big East started their first game at noon, but to my recollection, I don't think
maybe not.
Yeah, I think it was like maybe a half hour before tip is when the 8:10 called it. But as those dominoes started falling, you knew that even if there was, if they're going to try and play without fans, but it was most likely that they were just going to cancel it entirely. I knew it was serious when, Cleveland's one of the true cities that hosts their St. Patrick's Day parade on actually St. Patrick's Day and not the Saturday before or after. And when they announced, I think it was like 2 weeks ahead of the parade, or maybe 1 week ahead, that they were canceling it, I knew there was no chance there were going to be games in Cleveland where we were going to have the first 2 rounds. But again, at that point, it just seemed like the tournament wasn't going to, happen at all. And when they finally made the announcement, it basically just felt like a formality. You knew it was coming, and they finally, it's like it was on life support for a week, and then finally it flatlined.
Yeah.
It was literally like the all the stages of denial, or the stages of, or not denial, all the stages of grieving. I felt like I went through. Like, at first it was like anger. Like I ripped the wine up and down on Twitter. Like I went in on him for a while, and then like as things like progressed day over day, it literally got to the point where like to Rollo's point, like got to like this point of acceptance. I think by like 3 or 4 days into the into the whole thing. It was funny. I remember I was sitting in my office when they canceled it, and I'd been going back and forth to California for work. I'm sitting in my office and they cancel it, and I felt like I was in a funeral receiving line because like people just kept coming up into my office and being like, "I heard the tournament was canceled. I'm so sorry." And I get a call from California. I heard the tournament was canceled. I'm so sorry. Like it literally was like I was standing at a funeral or at a viewing in a receiving line as we went through the whole piece. That I think it was that Thursday or whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I don't have any comparable thing. I mean, I guess I'm a University of Illinois graduate, so it was kind of exciting to. I was looking forward to them, losing in the first or second round. But but yeah, I couldn't imagine, with how well Dayton played this year. Because like in the previous, I don't know how many years. What's the best year that they've had I can't think of it off the top of my head.
The Elite Eight.
What was that? Was that in
2014? Was the Elite Eight year?
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you talking about seeding or performance?
Either or.
Yeah, what was it, guys? Like 2003-04, they were the 4 seed against Tulsa, maybe? Was that 03-04?
It was because it was a year after I graduated. That would have been 2003. I'm almost sure.
That was my freshman year, Rob. If it makes you feel better.
Yeah, I'm the old guy.
So, yeah, I haven't had too many exciting years myself, so I can feel somewhat of the pain, but it definitely didn't burn as much as it did. Yeah, go ahead.
It was kind of weird. It was like it was like painful and everything, but like everything moved like 12 hours at a time so fast that it went from like the tournament's canceled, I'm sad, to like I'm a CFO for a middle market business to, oh shit, I got to run cash flow scenarios to make sure we can keep this thing operating. So, and it's like, oh shit, I got to work from home and make sure my wife doesn't go crazy. So it's like the entire world changed. So like it kind of it was just like a night and day where I don't know, at least I felt like it somewhat blunted the blow because there was all these other things you had to start to worry about that were like impacting your life.
Yeah, and I think everything has been exponential, like the growth of the disease itself, as well as like the time, the way it's passed, because it feels like 2 weeks ago was like 2 years ago. So going into the season, let's start to bring back some of the memories of the season. What were your guys' expectations for the year? Because I'm guessing it couldn't have been to experience to think that you were going to have a 1 seed, or maybe it was. I don't know.
No, anybody who said Dayton was going to have a 1 seed before the year is fucking lying. I mean, I think I speak for just about everybody when considering what Dayton had coming back. I think the hope was to be kind of a top 3 team in the A10. Get a 8, 9, 10 seed in the tournament. That was kind of my expectations coming into the year.
Yeah, I was thinking, the typical 20-plus wins, NCAA bubble or better, like Blackburn said, maybe 8, 9 is the ceiling. Probably a 1 in 3 chance of winning the auto bid in the A10. We saw how good Obi Toppin was the previous year. I did not expect the progression to what he did this year. And then just to see the other guys just come around him. It was really, I'll tell you what, I was not a huge fan of the Anthony Grant hire, but I'm glad he's proved me wrong because the way he's able to get this team to play together in that offense it was a sight to see.
I don't know. I think these guys are full of shit. I definitely expect them to be a number 1 seed.
Yeah.
If you go check season long poll, Pickleback Bandit number 2 had Dayton on their squad and they shifted. I don't know if you know who that guy is. No, in all seriousness, I didn't they were on my season long pool team, but I didn't expect them to be a 1 seed. I think we had I know Blackie and some of us talk fairly regularly. This was kind of like Grant's prove it year. And the expectation was a little bit like tournament or bust, whatever that getting into the tournament was.
Okay.
Well, he technically didn't make the tournament, so he's still on the hot seat.
Harsh, but fair.
So when did you guys realize from a fan perspective that this was going to be a special year? Was it the Duke game? Was it that first tournament when they were beating teams that I didn't check the point spreads, but I'm guessing they were probably dogs in some of those earlier games.
Yeah, they were underdogs to Georgia, believe it or not, going into the opening round game of the Maui. I think the obvious answer here is the Kansas game out in Hawaii. That was an eye opener. It kind of showed that this team can run with anybody. And then after that Kansas game, you start looking at that schedule and you start seeing the possibilities. For me, that Kansas game definitely proved that UD was for real this year.
Yeah, I thought the Kansas game, I don't know, they've upset folks and hung with people and had upsets in Maui. And I was like, wow, this could get really, really interesting. But I don't think I really believed they had a chance to run the table in the A-10 until after the SLU game. It was like, all right, they're going to have a hookup somewhere. They're going to fall somewhere. And then Crutcher just pulled his balls out. And after they won that game, it was like, okay, we can actually do this. And then the Rhode Island game was kind of precarious. And then they just absolutely wiped the floor with them. And then at that point I was like, holy shit, they really could win a national title if they wiped the floor with a team where they probably no one would have blinked an eye if they lost.
Yeah, Nate kind of took my answer there, but I'll say this: when they played how they did in the Maui Invitational, I knew that they were a really good team. But when you talk about them being a special team, some of the past Flyer teams would look good and then they lose some shitty games they shouldn't, or they blow some leads where they had the game and let a team kind of beat them at the end. But it was that road overtime win at SLU where Crutcher hit the 3 to win it was like, okay, this now the narrative is about Dayton. It's about how good they are and their special moments. And that game also followed the game against VCU where they won by 14 or 15. But they were just slapping their ass for most of the game. They were up close to 30, and that game was as close as it was. So beating a team like VCU who thinks they're better than they really are, and then the SLU game on top of that, that's when I felt the team was, a little bit different.
Okay. Did you guys get a chance to go to many games? I think I saw you guys posting from there before, but maybe I'm thinking of other people that I follow that are from that area. But if I'm not mistaken, you guys have gone to a bunch of games this year, right?
I actually went to the UMass game in Amherst.
Okay.
And I was in Dayton for the big Loud Boys weekend against Davidson. But yeah, I live in New York. It's tough for me to get out to the Gem City.
Sure.
So 2 games a year is pretty good for me.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why I was looking forward to the A-10. I'm like, it's right in my backyard. It's going to be great. They're gonna win 3 games in a row, put up a trophy, onto the tournament. And instead, I was leaving work at 2 p.m. on Thursday.
and not to watch tournament games.
No, just to sit by myself on the couch in the darkness.
Yeah, Buddy and I went down. The trip's about 3 hours from Cleveland, and we went down to the February 22nd game against Duquesne. Actually got the tickets by someone that Blackburn retweeted who was trying to sell them. The StubHub tickets for Dayton home games were just absolutely ridiculous this year. You have upper deck seats that are sold for $7 or $10 a seat. going for almost 200.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, so I was just trying to find any angle I could, and finally, like I said, Blackburn Review retweeted this guy. I mean, I felt like I was in the, Wild Wild West trying to, like, hoping that this guy's going to show up and give me the tickets that I was going to pay for. But this dude's dad showed up, ironically, outside, what was that, the Nutter Center, which is Wright State's arena. So we met there. I handed him, I handed him $250
What's
in
some
cash.
sort of irony?
Yeah.
Yeah. He handed me the tickets, which I was expecting like paper printouts. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get fucked. These are gonna be copied tickets, but they were legit season ticket holder seats. It was 125 a piece, which seats were good, so I was okay with it because I know people were paying again upwards of 150, 200 to be in the 400 level. And it was a great game as far as Dayton winning, some exciting moments. So no regrets.
Okay.
Yeah, I was at the same game Rob was at. If you follow Dayton hoops, like you'll hear, especially Blackburn and other folks talk about the red sweaters and the people in the lower bowl who are like a million years old and will never leave, and they just hand their tickets down. And that's literally my entire family. We're the problem. For anybody who wants to move down and get tickets, like my grandfather had them, then my old man and all his brothers have them. So we usually do a big weekend, like my dad, all his brothers, all my cousins. We'll do, game, steak dinner, brewery, just have a day. So I was down for that same game Rob was. There was about a dozen of us. I only made it to one this year. Usually I'm good for 2 or 3, but with the way some stuff timed out, that was the only game I made it to. And I wanted to make it for that last GW game, but traveling for work, Mrs. Nate was not going to allow just a random trip to Dayton for no reason.
So I've obviously never been there myself, but was it a pretty intense experience, like a lot of college games where it's very intimate and like maybe this year even more loud LOWD than normal?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of shocked when I went for the Davidson game. I was sitting with a friend of mine, and we were both remarking. It was like the arena was loud from the jump. It was like an environment I never see. I mean, I've been to many games at UD Arena, obviously, but it was by far and away like the most boisterous crowd, like for literally like the entire 40 minutes of the game. It was crazy.
Yeah, like everyone's in their seats for the pregame festivities. It was something that I didn't experience at the college level ever.
The cool thing about the arena is like it was built in the 60s. It's built for basketball. It's not a multi-purpose.
Okay.
All they hold are UD games and Ohio high school basketball games. So it's literally built for basketball, and it's amazing. It's just to feel the energy there, and especially like I think Rob might be able to relate. I don't know if Blackie's old enough, but like I actually didn't go to UD. I'm a townie, as they like to say. Like I went to a D3 school here in Cleveland, but
Okay.
That's what you do. Like if you live in Dayton, you just go to games. And I spent my childhood suffering through the O'Brien years where there still was 10,000 people, but there was no such thing as loud. So just having that in the back of your memory, and then just the absolute pure energy to the point where you have literally boomers with their phones and little like flashlights out is something to behold.
Well, that's the amazing thing, Brian. It's like when I first got to UD, I'm a big college basketball fan, and like I knew Dayton was kind of a shitty program when I went there. It was kind of back on the rise. But I remember going to my first game there and just being like, there was like 12,000 people to watch them play, like, I don't even like Wayne State or somebody. And I was like, this is crazy. Like I had no idea how like ferocious these people are about Dayton basketball. And it's a testament to that town that they supported. I mean, like you guys said, like they're the Jim O'Brien days, where just they won like 6 games a season, and they still got 10, 11,000 people at these games. It's insane.
Now, is Dayton Arena? Is it on campus, next to campus?
It's close.
Okay.
It's close to campus.
Okay, so that helps. I mean, I know there's like occasional arenas around here, like DePaul plays like nowhere near their place.
Yeah.
I know that can help. That can hurt.
It has nothing to do with it. There's nothing else to do in Dayton.
Sure.
That's literally why there's 10,000 people there.
Okay.
Like there's no professional team in Cincinnati. There's no professional like team in anywhere in Columbus. It's literally like, what do you do from November to March when it's 35 degrees and raining? Go to basketball games. Even if they suck, like what else are you going to do?
Yeah. Did any of you guys have futures on Dayton in any capacity?
No, I mean, Nate, did you see that ticket I retweeted? That poor kid.
Nah, so I don't know. Did you? I'm not. I didn't. I don't want to steal your thunder, but go ahead.
No, I don't even remember. But this kid, I think he put down, I think $100 or $200, and Dayton was like, I forget what it was, but basically he was slated to win $20K if they won the whole thing. Another guy had a ticket future for just them making the Final Four to win $10K. So
Yeah.
I was just, those are the guys that, screw the players. I feel the worst for these guys.
Yeah. So my little story on that one is, so I get a text from my uncle he was like an 89, 90 grad, something like that. And he shoots me a text in February. He's like, hey, keep this on the down low. Like, I'm trying to figure out what I should do with this. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, so me and my 3 roommates from UD, we all put $100 in, and we pulled the trigger on a Dayton future in September at 750 to 1.
Damn.
He's like, how do I hedge this? What do I do? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, well, let me start thinking through some of this stuff. And I was like, what is it, prop swap or bet swap or whatever that is? Like, you probably sell it. And, I think at that point in time, we thought you could probably cash in for, like, they could have pulled 40 or 50 out and then split it that many ways. And he's like, no, we're going to hold off and we're going to wait till the Elite 8 to hedge. You should probably hedge part of that right now. I don't know how, but we should figure something like that out. So literally they just, it just kind of blew up in smoke. And I think Dave Jablonski, Jabs, he had I don't know if he had a story on it or he kind of retweeted one of the guys who was part of their crew who kind of told them, oh, that's nice. Like, we're sitting on 750 to 1 for $400. I didn't have anything, but that's my Dayton future story.
Oh man, that's painful. Rob, did you have anything?
No. In fact, I talked someone out of betting them at like 25 to 1 at some point in November or maybe later than that. And I'm just like, well, I couldn't believe
You knew about the coronavirus.
Yeah,
I already saw the first case happening in Wuhan, and I said, tournament's not going to happen. 5 months, don't bother with it. But I didn't bet them, and like I said, it's talk someone else out of it. But hey.
But it is funny because I know people that, they go to Vegas during the summer, July, August, and they'll always throw down 100 or so on Dayton winning it all, like every year. And this was the year, and it just didn't even play the first round. It's just so kick in the teeth.
Now there's a guy I wouldn't call him part of Seville, but he has some Seville connects. And he works in the industry in Vegas, and he always bets UD, and him and I go back and forth joking around about it. He's from Northeast Ohio. And usually it's like every year it's Dayton, somewhere between 200 to 1 or 300 to 1. And this year he was like, oh, it's off the board at my shop, blah, 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 blah. You can't even find it. And I was like, dude, this was the year you should have pulled the trigger. And then now he's like, dude, this is the year I'm glad I didn't.
All right, so is it more painful? All right, I had a list of hypotheticals and the reality of the situation. What would you consider worse? The fact that there's no March Madness, would you be more disappointed with like a second round loss or watching like these simulations saying that Dayton's going to win it all? Is there any of those 3 that trigger you the most? I mean, obviously the non-existence of March Madness has got to be bad, but I don't know if these other things like even compare or not.
No, I mean, me personally, I would have rather seen Dayton lose in the first round to a 16 seed than not have March Madness at all. It's just terrible. I mean, I don't know what I'm getting. I think about this every day. When does it stop? It's not good. Can't live like this.
That's the closest, like 50-50. Like you go either way. Like I definitely would have rather had him lose in the second round than not have March Madness. Like 16 seed would have been embarrassing. There would have been a lot of crow to eat. Like I talked a lot of shit in February and March to people. Like going back to, like I was telling you guys, I keep going to California to work, and I would literally like start off like integration calls with, just so everyone knows, Dayton won yesterday, and shit like that. So I would have a lot of crow to eat if they would have lost in their first game. But outside of that, like, I don't even think anything gets close.
Yeah, I mean, I had the exact conversation with a friend. I told him flat out, even before you posed the question, I said, I'd rather have them lose in the second round to an 8 or 9, because without the tournament, there's no closure on where the season would have gone. I mean, they could have won it all, and they could have lost to a 16 seed or an 8 or 9, and just not knowing kind of sucks the most. But on the other hand, I could not stand all these simulations of the
Oh
tournament.
God, they're killing me.
It was to me, it was just the dumbest thing. Because if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. But it got to the point where, like, it's at the height of the seriousness of the COVID-19 spreading, and I just tweeted, I'm like, for the safety of myself and for my own health, and my friends and family, please do one thing: stop retweeting these goddamn simulations, because I'm going to kill myself at some point.
Now, are you willing to share what you shared with us in the chat about what your wife bought you?
Oh, yeah, I have it here. I was going to wear it, but it's a little bit cold. Let me see if can you see this?
Yep. Yeah.
So I wasn't a big fan of these. They were the simulated national champions. 2020. It says Dayton 2020 national champs, and at the bottom in smaller print it says probably. So I'll wear that proudly. Like I said, my wife gave it to me. It arrived today, ironically. When I was thinking here, I was starting to get a little bit choked up. And then she called me a pussy.
Harsh but fair.
Yes.
Okay. So next year, presuming that the season starts on time, do you guys have high hopes for next year?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, they're gonna have a pretty decent backcourt coming back. The one hope is that with Dayton kind of elevating the program and kind of being, I wouldn't say it's a name brand program by any means yet, but the hope right now for Dayton fans is that we can snag a grad transfer or a big guy somewhere, because the front court is going to be hurting next year. And obviously, look, I mean, we talk about Judge and Anthony Grant, and this sounds kind of harsh, but like, I think next year he's got a lot to prove as well. It's kind of easy to, not easy, but when you have a lottery pick in a mid-major league, it's Anthony Grant was essentially a mascot or a spectator for most of the season. Next year it's gonna be tough sledding. But yeah, looking at how everybody else has got coming back in the A10, I think they're a top 4 team coming back. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, our guard play is tremendously deep. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what Jalen Crutcher can do next year as possibly the focal point of the offense. And then you got Ibby Watson, Cohill, and Chatham. I mean, they've got 4 guys. You think Cohill and Watson could start for most other A10 teams in their backcourt. So we've got that going. And then we have Chimichanga in the front court. That's fine. Like Blackburn said, hopefully some graduates. And hopefully I think this could get the ball rolling as far as recruiting goes. And, maybe this can just start bringing, we're never going to bring the 5-star, blue chip All-Americans, but, we could really start to at least, I hate to even utter their name, but kind of like what Xavier was in the A10, where they're always going to be something like a 3 to 6 seed in the A10 tournament. They're always probably going to be the favorite to win the conference.
Yeah, just to build on what Rob said, you got to kind of, it was interesting you mentioned Cohill. Like halfway through the season, he got benched, and there was some little bit of debate like, where's this going? Is he going to transfer? Is he going to move on? But he came on really, really strong the last, call it half dozen games, and really started to be able to contribute. I'm really interested to see if Grant's able to Blackie's point, keep kind of the same offense, playing more up-tempo, playing that kind of ball screen offense. He was that constantly just resets and rotates through. Because I think that's going to be a key for them kind of continuing to push forward. And really next year is all about like not losing steam, if you will. Like I mentioned the red sweaters, like I got what I call my uncles in text, the red sweater text. We're like, oh, this is just the beginning. There's not going to be a drop off. And I'm like, we're losing lottery pick. What fucking world do you live in?
Well, but Nate, you're right.
Like, just make the tournament. Like let's just make the tournament. So it's not that I wouldn't call it a one-hit wonder this year, but that you keep the steam rolling. So then you can roll into the recruiting pieces, kind of call it 2-3 years down the road, because you don't want to just a peak and then a huge valley. And the way you do that is make the tournament, make the second weekend. Otherwise, it's just like, boom, you kind of get hit and you get forgotten, you get hit and you get forgotten. To become a Xavier or someone, or a Butler even, like, God forbid someone even throw out the name like Gonzaga, which people do.
Hey, Gonzaga of the Midwest.
Like, people do like idiots. It's like, let's just dominate the A-10 and make the tournament and keep that train kind of rolling down the path before we get too over our skis here.
Well, I think Rob and Nate are probably there. You guys are probably privy to it as just like I was. I mean, after the Elite Eight run in 2014, I did have a lot of people, and I was kind of shocked, who kind of thought the train was just going to keep on rolling. And it doesn't work that way. Every team is unique. Every team's different. And we haven't even mentioned the fact, in the context of what Dayton did this year, this was the worst year of college basketball I've ever seen, top to bottom. I mean, that had a lot to do with Dayton rising to the top 4 in the nation. The A-10 was pretty horrible. I think the A-10 is going to be much improved next year. But yeah, for those people at home who think that, Dayton's just going to roll the balls out again and, win 25 games, it ain't that easy.
Yeah, it's funny, Blackburn, when you mentioned 2014, I think everybody knew that Dayton was a stepping stone for Archie Miller to go elsewhere. And, and he used that, and God bless him, he got that big gig with Indiana. I kind of feel like, Grant being, alumni and having already, done the SEC thing and up to the NBA as an assistant, I kind of feel like he might be around here for the long haul. Maybe not, Krzyzewski long haul, but I don't think he's necessarily going to try and parlay this into a bigger gig. I mean, the red sweaters adore him, so I don't, he's got a good thing going down there.
But if you look at 14, and even if you look at like the run for 4 years, like, what major recruits did we get out of that?
Absolutely none.
Yeah,
Nothing. It was a ghost town, and I think that's, if we're going to succeed going forward, it's make the tournament next year. And I think I think Archie might be a better, call it, game day coach than Grant, but I think Grant will better be able to leverage notoriety, brand, things like that, if we can keep it rolling one more year in terms of being able to bring transfers, which he already, is demonstrated, and recruiting forward, into the future.
Would you guys say that next year might be the most important year in Dayton's recent history? I mean, after the 2014 team, you still had some pieces. You had most of the pieces came back. I mean, if you look at the roster from 2 years from now, after Crutcher and Watson are gone, I mean, it is a blank canvas in 2 years. So next year is so vital to, like you said, to get to that tournament, be a destination for recruits, hopefully a destination for some high major guys that kind of washed out at their program. So that's why I'm looking ahead at things, and I'm saying next year is vital to kind of keep things rolling. Because after that, man, oh my God, that roster gets very thin.
Yep, 100% agree.
Yeah, you could probably take a step back and call it 2022. And then as long as you turn it around in 2023 and then get another run going, I think you're okay. But if all of a sudden it becomes barren for 2 or 3 years like we went through right after Archie left, then we're back to ground zero again, just like we kind of felt like we were going into this year.
Yeah, true.
Okay. All right, well, we'll go into another disappointment in many of your guys' lives, the Cleveland Browns.
Blackie's a huge Browns fan. Loves Baker.
I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan. Huge.
So I'm guessing we should begin this talk with Blackburn then. So were you guys all in on the 2019 hype? Because if I remember right, I think Nate, when I first started following you, it was like sometime last year. I think it might have been around football season, and I think it might have been you that retweeted the caravan of campers that were waiting like around midnight to go into
Oh
the
yeah.
parking lot. And just the hype over that first game. Were you at that?
No, I'm married with children, so
Oh,
I'm not privy to that. I used to be actually. Those are the guys I used to tailgate with prior to me being married with children. No, but literally, I think sometime over the summer, my entire family and I booked hotel rooms for the Super Bowl. So I'm definitely not the right person to ask on the hype train. In terms of, I also booked hotel rooms in Atlanta after the Rhode Island game. So clearly, me booking hotel rooms just ruined everything.
well, I was reading a story about somebody sharing their worst sports experience and saying they booked a flight to Atlanta at halftime of the one Super Bowl to watch the Super Bowl parade. So,
It was at least I'm no dummy, fully refundable at least.
yeah,
So at least
yeah.
but yeah.
So Blackburn, you
Yeah,
being the Cleveland Browns ultimate fan, from what I
that's
hear,
me.
um, were were you buying into that hype?
No, man. Like, listen, Baker, you're not going anywhere with Baker Mayfield as your quarterback. Then you bring in OBJ into that mix. You're not going anywhere with that mix. I'm sorry.
Didn't Kareem Hunt do it for you?
No.
Oh, so Rob, were you buying into the hype last year when the season started?
Yes and no, because I had been off their train for so long that I actually finally bought a jacket from Homage after years of shedding Browns gear. So yeah, in that regard. But then it was the day before Sunday, week 1. We had a neighborhood cookout, and anyone who was asking me, I would tell them, if they go 9-7, that's a good season. And they looked at me like I was having a stroke. And I'm just like, look what the Browns have done recently. 9-7 would be great. And damn, they would have taken 9-7 after looking at it.
Yeah, that first game was like it was it revealed a lot about them. I feel like, and never really got on track after that. Um, but as far as like free agent signings, I think they've signed Hooper. Not who knows if there's going to be an NFL season, but I mean Hooper seems like a good signing. I don't know if that guy excites you guys at all or not. I mean, or if you guys are just kind of still numb with the Dayton stuff that you really
Brian,
don't even give a shit.
Brian, who's the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns?
I have to check my commercials. Let me check.
I don't need your shit, Blackburn.
Let me rewind the podcast back about 3 minutes and get your take on that. So let me ask you this question, Blackburn: will there be more Baker ad campaigns next year or Browns wins?
Browns wins. I think the shine is off the Baker mystique. Whatever happened with the Cheesecake Factory incident? Nobody followed up on that?
Listen, 2 consenting adults doing whatever they do. It's none of my business.
I will say this though, Baker is an operator because from what I read, he essentially told that girl, "Leave your cell phone in your car," right? So somebody fill in the gaps here. How did they get video?
All right. So enlighten me because I'm kind of operating in the dark here. What story are you referencing here?
So
Nate knows the story.
You take it, Blake.
No, Nate, you got it.
So allegedly, supposedly, there was a woman who came out on Twitter who basically was posting tweets, screenshots, Snapchats. I don't know. I sound like a boomer right now. Shit like
they were on the Snapchat and
social media of her and Baker were basically they were interacting, and he got her to show up in a Cheesecake Factory parking lot, get into his car, and blow him. for lack of a better term.
I think that was very. I think that's the proper terminology.
So, and then she basically like took him to town on Twitter, and it kind of went from there.
But the rumor was that she either had a friend of hers or somebody shooting video. Wasn't that the rumor? Yeah, because supposedly there's video of something that was going on. I don't know. We're off the rails already.
Well, I was kind of expecting that.
I mean, you asked the guy from Georgia about the Browns, so I'm going to put this back on you.
Go Dogs, baby. Go Dogs.
So do you guys think there's going to be an NFL season this year?
Yes, absolutely. Even if it's with, if they do the nobody in the stands or, limited people in the stands, I think by September they'll get this shit figured out.
Yeah, 100% agree on that. I mean, we're kind of projecting how a virus rolls right now, but I think it's at this point, you got to think by September we got this thing wrapped up. I don't know. Trump told us he has a hard stop with coronavirus on Easter, so I figured by September we should be good.
Well, Easter, you're going to pack the churches with old people. Rob, do you think there's going to be an NFL season?
Man, who fucking cares? Dayton was supposed to do.
Thanks for getting us back on track, Rob.
All right. Well, I see you guys drinking in the background. What are we drinking tonight?
Well, I'm representing Dayton here with a Warped Wing Flyer Red.
Okay.
Got that going down. That was number 2. First was the Fatheads, Benjamin Danklin.
Okay.
So I'll probably hit a Columbus Bodie after this one. And then I got sitting over there.
I went similar to Rob, who I went with Warped Wing barrel-aged Esther's Little Secret from about a year ago. And then I pulled off, I'm just crushing the cellar right now under quarantine, a Cigar City Angry Chair called Special Socks. Bourbon barrel aged imperial milk stout with hazelnuts, coffee, and vanilla, right up Blackburn's alley. It's one of my favorites.
I love the craft beer guys. It's like, let's disguise the beer taste with cranberry and oatmeal and chocolate. Like I'm such a big beer guy. Oh yeah, you're drinking oatmeal and chocolate. What a big beer guy you are. I'm a Miller Lite man.
So you like Baker Mayfield. You like craft beer.
No, I hate craft beer more than life. It's more than coronavirus.
So you're a Miller Lite guy then?
Yeah, Miller Lite. That's all I really drink. I'm a simple man. Simple pleasures.
Nothing wrong with that.
What about you, Brian?
Well, I've got from a beer delivery I got a week ago. It's called Sasquatch Magi from a local place called Rabid Brewing. It's a chocolate peanut butter stout.
Oh yeah, you're a big beer guy. I love beer.
I've got my big glass here, so it's 32 ounces. So
that thing is darker. That thing is darker than oil.
Blackburn's on Miller Lite with a jar of Jif and some Hershey's chocolate right next to it.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
So yeah, I'm impressed with how the beer community's gone over here, because we're able to actually get beer delivered to us now, which I don't think was a thing before this. I think they've relaxed the restrictions on that. So in your guys' neighborhood or in where you're at, do they have beer delivery right now with everything that's going on?
Well, New York, they always had it.
Okay.
So that's but yeah, now I think I don't know right now, but I think they're still allowing restaurants and bars to deliver. I think I haven't checked recently, but yeah, you can always get beer delivered in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, Fatheads. What Rob was showing earlier now is they run like every other day or something like that. They'll send stuff out. Pretty much every Masthead, another brewery. I know Rob and I have both met up and had some beers on before. Like I live almost 20 miles probably south of downtown where they're at, and they'll actually even deliver all the way down here.
Oh, nice.
and they're running twice a week. But it's like for these guys, it's pretty simple math. It's like, okay, I can sit here and just, burn cash or spend a couple extra bucks and deliver beer to folks.
Especially because, the margins on food is low, so they could run carry-out food all you want, but the places that can't deliver booze during this time, that's going to crush them. So actually that Fatheads I showed, I actually got that delivered yesterday. I had a couple neighbors go in, and we bought like $100 worth stuff from Fatheads, and I think they're delivering every day. Masthead is doing it twice a week. And but yeah, like every other brewery now is doing their delivery service, just trying to get their product out there without paying the middleman grocery stores.
Sure. Are you guys well stocked then, or are you guys making like weekly trips or deliveries for your booze consumption?
I went to Walmart, got all the Miller Lite I could possibly pack in the cart. So I'm good.
I have probably 400 beers in my cellar, 400 pounds of meat, and 3 cases of whiskey. So
Oh shit.
This is my chance to tell Mrs. Nate, listen, I told you I needed all this.
This is why. Years of planning. Yeah, and I have a decent amount of. I don't quite have the cellar that Nate has, but I got a fridge that has probably about 30 to 40 bottles. Then I've got probably about 10 bottles of bourbon to hold me over. I've been switching over a little bit more to bourbon recently, just because I can drink more of it and get more fucked up. So.
What do you guys think? I always thought about this too. The rate of drunk driving between craft guys and guys like myself. Because some of these craft beers, you drink one and it's like 18% and you're on your ass already. And you're like, I got to get home.
Yeah, speaking
I'm not here to incriminate myself. You're my attorney. I don't appreciate those type of questions.
Hey, in the words of Mark McGuire, you're not here to talk about the past.
Yeah,
that's true.
But from experience, I go out with groups of people and nobody's like the designated driver, and everyone's, having those 6 or 7% beers. And, if you're going to be,
I wish I keep it to 6 or 7.
that's just being generous, but, nobody's drinking just the light ones the whole night. Everyone's sampling the double
Brian, you don't have
IPAs.
kids. So Robin,
No.
and neither does Blackie. Robin and I are stuck at home crushing 18% beers.
Just to get to bed. Just to get to bed.
I get my daughter to bed between 8 and 8:30. Then I'm checking out which neighbors, want to have a drink. And that's the nice thing actually about being in suburbia now is it's a bunch of us in the same boat. We just want to get our kids to sleep and then start drinking. And that's worked out well.
But my thing is, if you guys want to, let's say you're watching a tournament all day, right? Noon to midnight. Are you drinking craft beer the entire day?
Hey, there's craft beer that's only like 4.7%. So there's a time and place for everything.
To your point, Blackie, there's like a peak. So when we do the Vegas thing, right? So we go to Beer Park.
Yeah.
And it's got,
that's what the
beer.
Nate, that all the girls there are off they're strippers.
Yeah, especially the Asian ones, right?
Oh my God, man. Oof. Beer Park is nice.
But about you start firing up at 9 a.m. and by about maybe take a little break around 3. But by about 7 p.m., I got to switch over to vodka soda. I'm going full sorority girl. I want to keep the train rolling, but I can't put there's only so much volume that can keep going in.
Yeah. See, I can drink like 40 Miller Lights over the course of a day. Not a problem.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I go with the cheap beer approach in those marathon sessions. I'll go off of I don't know. I tend to I'll try to buy the cheapest 30-pack that I find either around here. It would either be PBR or Rolling Rock, something just dirt cheap.
But are you doing 40 picklebacks?
Oh.
I'm not.
And
there it turned.
This is the part that's going to get deleted, isn't it?
Yeah, should I even ask what a pickleback is? Because I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. So right before this, and the reason Rob made me think about it is we did a what would you call a Google, no, not a Google Hangout, but a Google Duo pickleback with the neighbor dads because we didn't want to go outside. But a pickleback is a shot of Irish whiskey, preferably Tullamore or Dew, chased with a shot of pickle juice.
Okay.
And apparently you haven't been following my my Twitter too closely during the Dayton season if you were confused on what that was.
No, yeah, a lot of things blend together these days. I'm lucky to remember, like, 2 days ago. So
I mean, we
That's
can do
why
it right now if you want.
that's what I have. I don't really, yeah, and that's the sad thing. You guys probably have some decent hard liquor, but I'm not a hard liquor guy. So anything that I have is like stuff that people brought over for fantasy football drafts like 6 months ago.
It's all plastic bottles.
Brian, I got something might be up your speed here. This is a Pie Hole cherry pie whiskey.
Okay.
It's kind of, it's hard liquor, but then like Blackburn says, it's liquor that doesn't taste like liquor.
Right.
So,
Alcohol.
whenever someone's acting like an asshole at my place, I always make them do a shot of this. So.
Yeah, alcohol has become alcohol for people who don't actually like alcohol. It's like, let's just disguise the taste of everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Here's one of them. Pumpkin spice American cream.
Jesus Christ.
This is one of the liquors. So yeah, you could. I don't know shit about liquor. So, but okay. So as far as everything else that's going on with our lives, I'm unfortunately one of the people that's able to work from home. Are you guys all working from home these days?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I am too, which is interesting with wife and two kids, 5 and 7. But I'm just thankful to be able to keep working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Monday, Tuesday, I was at home for the first time, back in the office today. We're running a skeleton crew at the office, but like I showed up this morning in the parking garage at like 8:25, and I pulled in and I was the only car there. I'm like, did I miss a memo that like everybody closed? But I got it. Like I think we're literally maybe the only office in our 12-story building that is working right now. So I'll probably have the corona within a couple weeks.
So from your guys' work from home, I had asked the person on the podcast last week, Kevin, about like his work from home strategies, and one of them, for me anyways, was trying to separate work from say like lunch. Like I try to take lunch away from my work desk. I don't want to work through lunch, all that crap. Do you guys have any work from home strategies that have paid dividends for you during this or any other time you've worked from home?
Yeah, I went golfing today. I went golfing on the clock.
Yeah, I woke up at 8 a.m. and answered emails from my phone while drinking coffee from 8 to 8:45. It is interesting when you're on a conference call and like Disney Princesses Pandora's in the background. And sorry guys, like that's just where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, Monday and Tuesday. The great thing about it was I was able to crawl out of bed at like 8:20, and like I'm supposed to start working at 8:30. So like from the bedroom to the office, 10 minutes. That was great. But I mean, yeah. Other than that, it's just getting used to actually doing work. I would say my tip is make sure you send an inter-office email a couple minutes after you're supposed to start working and a couple minutes before you're supposed to be done. Yes. So they know that you're around. So make sure there's proof that you've been there.
Even if it's a scheduled email.
Even if it just says like okay or it's like confirming something, just make sure they know that that email came through. So I've heard about that scheduled email thing, and I haven't figured it out yet, but that would probably come in handy right about now.
But Rob's right. That is the key. If you have like an email that let's say you got like at 4:20, 4:25, save that fucker till about 5:55, then respond. Right. That's the key. Like Rob said, you just want to be like present essentially. You don't want to disappear for too long. That's the key.
Here's another pro tip. So especially if you work for a smaller middle market company, like feel free to order your own home office supplies. Like, I need a new monitor. I definitely need a wireless keyboard. And if your finance guy gives you a hard time, be like, bro, it's a coronavirus add back. Like it's totally an add back to EBITDA. Don't even worry about it. And you can just load up the home office at that point.
Yeah, like my wife is in finance, and she was hoping that like things would be a little slow. And she got home one day, and they had 3 monitors and a computer waiting for her. So it was like, nope, Just business as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I work great from home myself. It's actually been for my industry a little bit busier. There's been my company works with trains, so it's like I said, full circle. My life's come full circle, but the train industry is not going anywhere. At least not the freight industry. I know we have some passenger clients, but I'm lucky in that regard. That
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know about you guys, but like I feel like I'm thinking my job is safe during this. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and in all seriousness, like I work in the financial service industry, and I've been working my ass off for a couple of weeks, and I have to be present because shit's changing on an hourly basis. So it's you have to be there and doing something. And am I worried about the job? No. Because regardless of whether the markets are shitting all over themselves or not, the clients still need guidance. So
Sure.
it sucks trying to talk people off the ledge, but other than that, we're still needed. So
Yeah, we're pretty lucky. We're a fiber optic hardware supplier, so we're kind of a third-party alternative to say Cisco or Juniper. So our actually orders have gone through the roof for March and April because everyone trying to telecommute is just, I don't know if you guys on any kind of conference call or Zoom meeting, there's conference calls dropping left or right, Zoom meetings exploding, GoToMeetings exploding.
I tell you, Google Hangouts has worked out pretty well. I should buy stock.
Who's got that? Well, that's why, candidly, that's one of our customers. So who's got that going for us? So I just, it's probably tough on everybody. I'm just very thankful that we're able to keep shipping our product and keep everyone kind of on the rails going forward.
Cool. All right, now the last topic before we get into Blackburn ranting about the Office, because I needed to touch base on that. The one thing that I'm going to be bringing up in these podcasts is like binge lists, like what things that you might be watching or
Tiger
things
King.
that are on your radar. And that Tiger show, like I didn't, my wife put that on the other day, and I think I lost some teeth watching that. I have to check. I'm not sure, but there was so much meth going on in that, so much.
Yeah, I never wanted to smoke meth as badly as when I watched that show. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this. I'm at home. What am I doing?
So like, I watched that. That was something I wasn't expecting to watch. I still got to catch up on Better Call Saul, and I need to watch the last episode of Curb. And I'm trying to think of what else is on my radar. But what's on your guys' radar in terms of stuff you're either watching or stuff you're looking to watch based on either what you heard or just what you're interested in?
So
I wrapped up Tiger King last night.
Okay.
Not spoiler alert, but my guy got set up. I'm serious. He got fucking set up, man. Nobody else got charged with anything. It's bullshit.
Why'd you defend him, Blackburn? Come on.
If I knew he existed. And by the way, that guy got 19% of the vote for governor, which is
no way. Are you
yeah.
Wasn't that just for Wasn't that for the libertarian ticket?
Oh, you might be right. Still, it's still.
But
scary.
it's still way too. That's still way too many people.
Or too few, depending on your viewpoint. Yeah, I caught up on. I watched. I was behind like a season or two in Narco, but I've been trying to catch up on that. Curb, I'm all caught up on. I think Brian. I think Curb this year is kind of shitty. I thought it was kind of weak this year.
It's been up and down, but I mean, it's had its moments.
I got to get into what is that dating show that everyone's talking about? I got to get into that.
Blackie, Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. So I think me and the old lady are going to start that soon.
Yeah. So right before coronavirus, my wife and I started plowing through Love. You said what? Yeah.
BC.
Yeah. We started plowing. Yeah, we started plowing through Love is Blind, and actually I finished Narcos going on the plane back and forth to California, and Love is Blind we plowed through in like 3.5 days, which with 2 kids is Like
That's amazing.
it takes some commitment. You know, I thought Messico was the greatest character in like, you know, streaming history. And then we fired up Tiger King. Boom, 2 days. Joe Exotic. Like I thought Messica and Love Is Blind would last forever, but Tiger King absolutely dominated it. So and then now I've gone through both, so I don't know what to do. But if anyone is somehow still listening who's a fan of college basketball, CBSSN is firing up a ton of old good games like most of this week. I loaded like 6 or 7 into the DVR to record, so that's what I'm probably firing up for the next 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
I'm kind of all over the place with what I'm watching, but the one thing I think I don't hear much about is it was on IFC, and I think it's in its 4th season now, but Brockmire, especially if you're baseball, that's with Hank Azaria, and it's kind of, you know, it's obscene humor, but it's really fucking funny. So I enjoyed that. So I watch all of that, but I watched the first episode of that Tiger show, whatever, last night, and I'm sure I'll finish that up. But you know, I'm kind of lost without March Madness in baseball, so it's, you know, I'm trying to find my way around Netflix and Prime and Hulu and everything.
And there's porn. There's also porn too. Don't forget, guys.
Yeah, I already do that.
You're not alone.
I'm 40 and married. So.
Oh my God, you're a hard drive.
Yeah. Does anyone even buy magazines anymore?
I don't think they make them.
If you go to truck stops, you'll see them, like especially in the South. But the best part about the pornography they offer, you can't actually see the cover, so it'll just be like big black women or like blonde women, old grannies. Like you don't know what, it's basically a grab bag. You don't know what you're getting until you actually open the magazine up. It's kind of exciting. It's like a Cracker Jacks box of pornography.
So yeah, the only other thing I could think of something that I watched yesterday was that Chris Benoit thing. I don't know if you guys are wrestling fans or not. But the Chris Benoit Dark Side of the Ring, him killing his family was
I remember that.
A pretty intense watch yesterday. Then they brought in the guy Chris Nowinski, who's been doing the stuff with the CTE for football, and you know, that was a pretty intense watch. I grew up, you know, I had like a 4 or 5 year window when I was watching it. I don't really watch it too much anymore, except for maybe the highlights of those particular years. But that was another recommended watch, and I might watch some of those old episodes of, you know, maybe particular wrestlers that I'm interested in. But I can't think of anything else off the top of my head that's been new since last week. So.
We got to stop using CTE as an excuse for everything at this point. It's like anybody that does anything, it's like, well, it was CTE. Like it's getting out of hand now. I don't know.
Yeah. Did CTE cause Corona?
Possibly.
Isn't that what the C stands for?
Well, it's like anytime any athlete does, obviously just athletes, it's like anytime they do something stupid, it's like, well, you know, he took a bad hit 2 years ago. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like, I'm sorry. That's not an excuse.
I mean, there's still got to be some responsibility for your actions.
Yeah, I mean, were guys back in the 50s and 60s like beating their wives, killing people? So, like, I don't know. Maybe they were, but it just seemed like...
The answer is yes.
Definitely yes to the first part.
Well, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, it was like they're doing this outlandish shit, and it's kind of like, well, you know, the poor guy's got CTE. It's like, no, we stabbed a man. Like, I don't know. It's going too far. That's just my 2 cents.
Did Obi's dad have CTE? Too soon?
Too soon.
Cut that one out, Brian.
Yeah, cut that one out.
Oh, I don't cut shit out at all. You guys are fucked. You guys are fucked. I don't edit shit at all. You guys.
That was not Warlock that said that.
Yeah. Apparently, you guys don't listen to the podcast much because I don't edit shit.
That was Nate. Nate said that, not nobody else.
All right. So the next topic here is you guys can chime in, but I specifically addressed Blackburn on this because I'm a big Office fan, and you know, I'm binge watching it again for like, I don't know, the 13th or 14th time. I don't know. I usually skip the first season and just go straight to season 2. But as far as the subject here, I remember a tweet. I don't know how long ago it was. It feels like maybe a year or two ago, where you had a little tweet thread there, Blackburn, of commentary of why Jim Halpert was a moron for going for Pam over Karen.
Yeah, I mean, let's start on first base here. Objectively, Karen is a better looking girl. Do we all agree with that or no?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Right? So that's male psyche 101. It doesn't make any sense that he would, obsess over Pam, who's like, she's an attractive lady, but she's kind of matronly. You know what I mean? Also, think about this. Now, Brian, I didn't watch the show. I was kind of in and out. But there's a part in the show where Karen follows Jim to Scranton from like Utica, right? That's loyalty.
Yeah.
That's loyalty. She was all in. Pam was never all in. She was back and forth. And that was the other thing. Pam dated a warehouse guy. You don't want to. Who wants to get a girl that's dating a guy that works in a warehouse?
Nobody wants warehouse sloppy seconds. I got coronavirus on it.
That's the best argument I've heard thus far.
Yeah, it's like Pam was like a secretary. Karen was actually like a salesperson with like a future and like she's kind of goal oriented. Pam was like into like this like drawing and shit. I don't know what she was doing with her life. And that was the one thing that really put me over the edge when like there was a kind of a thread in the show where Pam goes to New York to go to art school, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
And Jim's like, yeah, go do it, chase your dreams. I support you fully, blah, blah, blah. Then you flash forward a year or two later, Jim's got this like weird sports marketing shit going on in Philly, and things are starting to pop off for him. And Pam's like, no, you got to stay here. You got to stay in Scranton. And that's when I was like, you know what? This girl is no good. No good for Jim. Karen would have absolutely been all in on that. That's all I'm saying.
I have no argument. It's like arguing Blake Lively's not the hottest woman on the planet. Like,
there you go.
Boom.
But Brian, do you have objections to that, or do you have?
No, I don't. It just stood out in my mind because like I've never heard anyone argue it, and I'm like, he kind of makes some good points. Like I don't remember the whole thread. I just remember you calling Jim Halpert a moron or an idiot a bunch of times, and
yeah, just gonna make. And also, he had to try so hard to get Pam, right? It was like trying to get her to leave the warehouse guy, and then like she tried to get him. About Karen was good to go. Karen was right there. She was like, I'm ready right now. And like I said, it goes back to the first part of what I said. Karen is hotter. I mean, come on. It's a slap in the face to men across America.
Well, in the last episode before he broke up with her, they were like all happy and walking around New York and all that. It wasn't like, it wasn't like they had just this big fight or whatever. They were still like seemingly in a good relationship.
Yeah, she couldn't get over a guy who was fucking a guy that worked in a warehouse. Makes no sense. Zero. None. None.
Okay, so we all agree with that. So I did in the honor of the podcast, I did do a little poll because obviously I'm just like starving for content these days. I had to do a poll because I think it's objective. I hope it's objective amongst us that the two best characters on The Office are Creed and Kevin. Are we in agreement there?
Creed for sure. The thing about Kevin is he morphed into literally a mentally disabled person.
Yes, somebody was bringing up the whole turtle shell thing, and I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Like,
like it did. Like go back watch season 1. Kevin's like a slow dude, but by the end he's like a fucking retarded man. It doesn't make any sense why the character went that direction. It's just weird.
So
I like Stanley. Stanley is always good for a chuckle for me. Stanley and Creed.
Okay. All right. Well, Creed, according to the voters here, got 52% of the 73 votes here. So I think that's 38, 35 or
73 is the perfect sample size.
Yeah. So it was almost at 69 votes. It was at 69 votes.
Oh,
so like
nice.
Like, with like 15 minutes to go, I was like hoping nobody else would vote, and then there was like 3 or 4 people that voted for Creed,
Not nice.
that ruined the that ruined it. It would have been perfect for Kevin, but
Let me ask you a question, Brian. Like, I understand the what attracts people to The Office because it's a comedy, but like, I remember one episode specifically when I was like, I'm not watching this show anymore, and it was I think Dwight and Michael Scott are driving somewhere, and Michael Scott's like following the GPS to like the nth degree, and they drive into a fucking lake or something. Like,
yeah.
why do we have to suspend disbelief that these people are just they're all mentally ill at the end of the day?
You know,
Well, the show was based.
yeah, I wonder like what like I heard that there were some writers that made some of these guys dumber than others. So like I don't know, there's probably a trend if you look at the writers that like who wrote certain episodes that like made Michael like way dumber than others. So you know, I'd be interested to see like who did that, but you know, as far as Creed goes, Creed killed 2 people at least on the show because there's the one episode. There's the one episode I just finished watching where they're doing the they just found out that their branch is probably gonna go get bought out, so they're doing that uh that game that Michael comes up with, and and Michael in his character voice says,
I'll do the
there's been a murder. There's been a murder, and then Creed says, let me settle in, and then you see him like driving off. So you know that's implied one murder, and then the whole Halloween episode. I think it might have been in season 8 or 9 where he had the blood on his shirt, and they said, you know, oh, nice costume, and he's like,
what costume?
Yeah. So you got to think he's killed at least 2 people. So like that part of it, like, is pretty funny. Like, and you know, I go back and forth between Creed and Kevin. Like right now, talking it out, I feel like I'd say Creed, but I've had my days where like I relate to the degeneracy of Kevin, where he's talking about betting 10. You have to bet anything that's 10,000 to 1.
That sounds like Nate.
I didn't need that.
So, you know, we got so that's the poll results there. I think the last we didn't get too many listener questions. I was a little disappointed with that, but that's all right. The one question we did get though, and we might end the pod with this is from Sizzling Sports, who was a guest a few pods ago, and he was asking if Fezzik was right or wrong that is it Marion's Pizza is the best in Southwest Ohio. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, full stop.
I will say when you go to Marion, they have the flyer cut.
There it is.
Get the flyer cut. It is pretty good though. I don't really consider myself a pizza snob, but like I had it a few years ago, and you know everyone's always everyone in New York is very we're all about the pizza, and you can only eat pizza in New York, but Marion's is pretty damn good. I was kind of surprised.
Marion, like I grew up on Marion's. Marion's like when I get home, we gotta grab Marion's. Is it the best pizza in the world? I don't know, but if you like thin crust or no crust pizza, like it's 100.
I'm not about to argue with a Dayton townie, but Kettering Hall becomes a close second.
Oh, so good.
Now, is that like a thinner crust?
Yeah, so there's like I'd call it like a Dayton style pizza, like in quotations. It's so if you've ever had the chain version of it would be like Donato's. It's this real thin crust, kind of the square cut, as Blackie said. If you're on the ends, you can ask for the flyer cut and actually get the triangles. But if you're looking for any kind of thick cut or pan pizza, it's a little bit different. But yeah, it's literally, I don't know. I grew up on it. Like we went there after 6th grade CYO game. So
okay.
I'm certainly not gonna argue it.
Also, the fact that triangle cuts are an upsell, definitely.
Now, as a person from the Chicago area, I know that like everyone on Twitter likes to associate, or just anyone in general likes to associate Chicago with deep dish, and then I read on Twitter about that lasagna that you're eating or something like that.
It's a beautiful casserole.
Yeah, the casserole. And to be honest with you, I think that the whole deep dish thing, at least in the people that are around me, is more of a touristy thing. Because I'm all about the tavern style pizza, the thin crust. So I'm not, every now and then I'll have that casserole, but it's not. It's probably like once every other year, honestly.
The thing
Um,
about that deep dish shit, it's like you can't eat a lot of it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like you get like maybe a slice in, and you're like, I'm fucking done.
I mean,
Yeah.
here's the bottom line on the Marions and the deep dish thing. So my sister got married about a year ago in Dayton, and she married a guy from Chicago. And their late night like reception was like half Marion's, half deep dish. And the Marions just got absolutely smashed because the funny thing is the way you cut those, like my wife bitches about it, that you cut into those little like tiny squares and you just like eat a square, eat a square, eat a square. The next thing you know, boom, you're through an entire pizza as opposed to trying to put down a whole like deep dish where you're like, oh my God, I can't even struggle through it. And my wife's like, oh my God, how did I eat a whole pizza, Nate? I only ate like 75 small little squares.
what were you saying, Rob?
Now, that's the thing with deep dish pizza. Set aside like 3 hours for the entire process. So I
Yeah.
don't know who has that kind of time just to eat pizza.
Especially if you're drinking craft beer. Forget about it.
Oh yeah, you're hammered by.
I take you
halfway
3 hours
through
to
the
drink a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, with those hints of lavender that you're drinking,
You guys love beer, peanut butter and popcorn. I'm a big beer guy.
Yeah, I'm drinking motor oil right now. So
Yeah, you are. That's coming out bad, man. Oh my God.
all right. I'm trying to think of anything else we haven't discussed. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up before we call it a night?
I think I'm good. I mean, this was cathartic because I haven't really publicly spoken about the basketball, the Dayton Flyers basketball team this year. So it was good to kind of get off my chest, vocalize it, and kind of talk about it. A little bit of therapy.
Oh, before we actually one thing I did just think about because I did have it written here in the side here of the Dayton part in terms of like sports disappointments because I got this idea from reading Nate's timeline about certain like sports disappointments in your life or just like heartbreaks in your life. Where would you put Dayton this season ending the way it did? In terms of the heartbreak that you've experienced as a Cleveland or Ohio sports fan?
I guess like it's kind of down the list now, but I think it's going to move way higher up as the time goes through. I think just because of like the whole world change kind of muted it, like I said before, because I went from all right, the tournament's canceled to, oh my God, I got all these other like real world things that changed. Whereas all the other events were very isolated in terms of sports. But as we move through it, like I think 2-3 years from now, I'll look back on it, it'll be like the Browns moving and then this.
Yeah, it's tough. I agree. It's tough to rank because, again, if they would have got to the Final Four and lost, it could have been heartbreaking, but that would have been fun to enjoy the ride. Brian, last time I was on was during the 2016 baseball season, and obviously that didn't end well for the Indians, but it was a hell of a ride up until extra innings, Game 7. So
I had I think I might have mentioned like I had a 25-1 World Series bet on your Indians there for $100, and I'm on Team No Hedge, so.
Oh.
Even when they were up 3-1, I was like, I'm just riding this out. And I always tend to have these futures that end up facing Chicago teams. So when I'm going out to watch these games in public, I'm like I'm not a person that likes to stand out. So I'm watching these games, and I'm just like, if the Cubs are like, the Cubs hit like a grand slam early in that 5th game, I think, or 6th game. I don't remember when it was. And then I was like, oh man, this is going 7. I could feel it. But Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I was just
Yeah.
I needed to weep a
No,
little bit in that loss
right.
a little bit.
It's going to rank up there, I think, as the years go on, especially because of the unknown. I kind of, the unknown of it happening, I kind of relate to this going back, the 1994 Indians,
Yeah.
which is when they first started to become great after like 40 years of sucking. And then, of course, the strike happens and there's no World Series. And, the Indians went to the World Series in 95 and 97, so they had the team that was capable. But, it's kind of similar to this year where we had the ending taken away from us when my team was a prime contender. If it would ever happen, it would almost be like if the Browns were the number one seed in the AFC and were about to go to Super Bowl, and then, something happened that canceled it.
Like they moved?
Yeah, something like that.
And if I remember the 94 season of baseball, I think that was going to be the first year of the wild card, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was when they split the so
That
I mean
sounds
you had
right, but people forget that Indians team. I mean, you remember the '95 team? It was similar. They had like Jim Thome and Manny Ramirez were batting 6th and 7th in that lineup, and I mean those guys. One's a Hall of Famer, the other should be. And again, that season was when the season ended with the strike. They were a game behind the White Sox in first place, but they're on a tear. And I think they might have had the best run differential in the league. I mean, they were clearly going to overtake them. But again, we had that ending taken away from us. Never know what would have happened. So
yeah. What about you, Blackie? What about where does this rank for you?
Well, the worst loss in my history has been I'm a Georgia football fan.
Okay.
And I was at the national championship game in 2018.
Ugh.
Second down 26. It just it's one of those things I'll never forget. But I think what Nate and Rob said is true. It's like I don't think this is going to really sink in till like Selection Sunday next year. Then it's going to hit me like hard. You know what I mean? But this is pretty goddamn awful.
Well, I'm glad I could bring you guys on for your misery.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Black, when you talk about this being cathartic, you should really have a podcast where you get on and talk about it.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Yeah, between me and you, I have a site that no longer exists, and you have a site that you're not even the primary person on anymore. So
His namesake.
Yeah, I'm the emeritus. I'm the kind of the retired. I still advise.
With your UD Jesus advises everyone from the grave.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Blackburn, the emeritus.
Yeah, that's me. I'm like, oh, that's right. I have a website. Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, you didn't even think of doing the cheap plug because I haven't.
Dude, you already got FTP. How many more plugs do you need?
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm just like trying to forget about the whole season and just move on. It's like someone died or something. So it's like turn the page and on to next year.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining. Everyone, thanks for listening once again. Next week, I'm not sure who's coming on yet, but I have a couple of people in mind. So, again, hope you guys have a good time and stay safe. And talk to y'all soon.
All right, thanks, Brian.